Have you ever sat in an office freezing, wondering why it's always so cold? Well, if you're in an older building, the reason is what I call a set it and forget it set point that forces air conditioning in older buildings to cool the air all the way down to 55 degrees. Why do they do this? Well, air conditioning in commercial buildings controls both temperature and humidity, and this is done by cooling the air to control the humidity just to warm it back up to a comfortable temperature. Yes, you heard me right. Air conditioning cools down air just to warm it back up. Seems inefficient, right? Well, it is. To reduce this inefficiency, I'm teaching an old building new tricks. While newer buildings usually have smart thermostats, adjusting set points in these older buildings can require someone to walk into a closet and manually change the set point. The set it and forget it set points can handle the worst case scenario, which is synonymous with how hot and how humid it gets outside. The set it and forget it set points were chosen so that even when weather conditions are very hot and very humid outside, no one has to worry about going into that closet to change the settings. This convenience comes at the cost of both energy and comfort. The worst case scenario happens infrequently and changes based on where you are. In Houston, it gets very hot and very humid, whereas here in Palo Alto, the worst case scenario is not as extreme. So how can the set it and forget it parameter of 55 degrees be the same everywhere? Well, it shouldn't be. The 55-degree set point was decided decades ago when energy was cheap and there was much less concern with climate change and wasting energy. You may be thinking, why don't we just install smarter controls? And well, that's expensive. And these older buildings are often underfunded, so we need low-cost solutions to reduce their energy use. In my PhD, I have run no-cost experiments in commercial buildings in Texas, New Jersey, and California by simply using what's already in place in a different way. In my experiments, I increased the set it and forget it temperature slightly, and I found that a 4-degree increase saves up to 10% of the cooling energy used by the air conditioning. This change only slightly increases the relative humidity, but it keeps it well within the range of comfort and doesn't allow mold growth. Now I'm estimating the savings across the country by combining the results from these experiments with building simulations and NASA weather data. By changing these set points just once a month, almost 2/3 of the area of the lower 48 states could reduce the strain on the air conditioning by up to 18%. So I've found a low-cost, easy to implement, and high-impact solution for reducing energy consumption of older commercial buildings. In other words, I've shown you can, in fact, teach an old building new tricks.